Okay, so in this question, we're going to go from start to finish calculating the entire cost of capital for a company. So that means we're going to have to find the market values of all of their capital pieces, add them all together to find the total, then convert those into the weights for each of the capital pieces in the capital structure. Then we're going to have to find the cost of each of those capital items, the cost of the common stock, cost of the preferred stock, cost of the debt, and then we piece it all together in our weighted average cost of capital formula. So as we get information, as we read through this problem, we'll start doing the calculations and start fitting those pieces together. All right, so it reads like this. It says, given the following information, calculate the weighted average cost of capital for Wharton Electronics. The tax rate is 35%. All right, so the first part, we're told that they have $240,000 bonds. $240,000 bonds. Let's try that again. The talent is poor. All right, in this question, we're going to calculate the entire weighted average cost of capital. And so as we read through each section of the problem, the information that we're given, let's start writing down the information, start doing these calculations to find all these pieces that we have to fit together. All right, so the question reads, says, given the following information, calculate the weighted average cost of capital for Wharton Electronics. The tax rate is 35%. So in the first section, we're given some information about the debt. We're told that there are 240,000 7.5% coupon bonds outstanding, 20 years to maturity, selling for $940 each. The bonds have a $1,000 par value and make annual payments. So to start with, let's calculate the market value of the debt. And so to do that, we're going to take the number of each security, which in this case is 240,000 bonds, multiplied by the price per bond, which is $940. Right, so if we multiply those two numbers together, we're going to get $225.6 million. Right, so that's what the product of those two numbers ends up being. So that's the market value of the debt. Now, along with that, we can calculate the cost of that debt. We can calculate what R sub D is. And so remember, that typically involves us calculating the yield to maturity. And so we're going to need all of these elements here, basically N, the present value, the payment, and the future value. And so what are we told about these bonds? We're told that they have a 7.5% coupon. Right? So that means that for every $1,000 face value, we're going to have a coupon payment of $75. We're told the bonds are selling for $940, so that's going to be our price. And we're also told that the bonds have 20 years to maturity, so N is equal to 20. So what we're computing here is the I over Y. So if I say that 20 is N and the price of the bonds is $940 for every $1,000 face value, and we have a $75 coupon, then what that gives us is a yield to maturity, if I round this to 2 decimal places, of 8.12%. Right? So I'll kind of square off these answers as we get to them to sort of point out that these are sort of the relevant items that we're needing to be calculating. All right, so that's the market value of the debt, and that's the cost of debt, pre-tax cost of debt. Now, next for the common stock, we're told that there are 9 million shares outstanding, selling for $71 per share, and the beta is 1.2. All right, so we can calculate the market value of the common stock. So let me just use S for stock there. And so we have 9 million shares, and we're told that they're selling at a price of $71 each. And so that is going to equal $639 million. Now, the next thing that we're told about the stock is that the beta is 1.2. All right, so remember, for finding the cost of the common stock, we're going to have essentially one of two mechanisms to do that. We're either going to need to use the capital asset pricing model, or we're going to have to reconfigure our constant dividend growth model to solve for what the cost of common stock is. Well, if we're told what the beta is, pretty clearly we're using the CAPM. So if I want to find the cost of that common stock, then we're going to need some more information other than the beta. And so what I'll do here is I'll skip down to the bottom under this market information, because that's where we get that info. We're told that the expected market risk premium is 8% and that the risk-free rate is 5. So the cost of the common stock is going to be the risk-free rate of 5 plus the market risk premium, which is 8, multiplied by the beta, which is 1.2. Okay, so 1.2 times 8, that's 9.6 plus 5, that's going to be 14.6%. So that's our cost of the common stock. And then this is the market value of the common stock. All right, so that's 2 out of 3. All right, now we've got some information on the preferred stock. Okay, so I'll write this over here. we're told that there's preferred stock and that there are 400,000 shares of the preferred stock, and they're selling for $81 each. So if I take 400,000, I'll write this out here. 400,000 times $81 per share. What that's going to give us is a market value. This is going to come out to $32,400,000 or $32.4 million. Right? So that's going to be the market value of the preferred stock. We're told it's selling for 81, just as we plugged in there, and that the dividend is $5.50 per share. So if I need to find the required return on the preferred stock, well, that's just going to be a reconfiguration of our no growth perpetuity equation, and so that's going to be equal to the dividend divided by the price, which is 5.5 over 81. And so what does that equal? If I take $5.50 divided by 81, that gives me 6.79%. Okay, so what have we done so far? We've calculated the market value of the debt, the market value of the common stock, and market value of the preferred stock. We've also calculated the cost of the debt, pre-tax. We also calculated the cost of the common stock and the cost of the preferred stock. Okay, so we need to do one more set of calculations. We need to convert these market values into weights. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add up all of these market values. I'm going to take the market value of the debt, which we said was 225.6, take the market value of the common stock, which was 639, and the market value of the preferred stock, which is 32.4, and add all these together. All right, so that's going to be a 0, that is a 1, that's going to be a 7, 3, 6, 9, and so the total market value of the company's capital structure is the sum of the market values of debt, common stock, and preferred stock, and that gets us a total of $897 million. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to divide that into each one of these individual totals to find the weights. So, for example, the preferred stock is 32.4 million of that 897, so 32.4 divided by 897 will be the weight of the preferred stock in that company's capital structure. All right, so at this point, we can put these into our weighted average cost of capital equation. So let me write this here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the weight of each piece of the capital structure and then multiply it by its attendant cost. So if I start with, let's start with the debt, because that's where we started. The weight is going to be what? The weight is going to be 225.6 divided by the total of 897. That's going to give us the weight of the debt in this capital structure. Then we're going to multiply that by the cost of debt, which we calculated before is 8.12%. And then we can't forget that we need the after-tax, or the effective cost of debt. So we need to multiply this by 1 minus the company's tax rate. That was one of the first bits of information we were given, which is 1 minus 0.35. Since we did the common stock next, let's do that. So the common stock is worth 639 million of that 897. And we multiply that by its cost of 14.6. All right? So we've got the weight of the debt multiplied by the cost of debt multiplied by 1 minus t. Now we've got the weight of the common stock multiplied by the cost of that common stock. Now our last piece of the puzzle here is going to be the weight of the preferred stock. That's the smallest weight because it only has 32.4 million of our $897 million total. We'll multiply that by its weight, or I'm sorry, by its cost, which we calculated as 6.79. Okay, all right, so let's piece all this together. All right, so let's calculate the values of each one of these items and then add them together. So if I do the debt item here, if I start with that, I'm going to take 225.6 divided by 897. That'll give me the weight. And so this weight, if you're just sort of writing down these intermediate steps, that weight adds up to 0.2515. I'm going to multiply this by the pre-tax cost of debt and then multiply this by 1 minus the tax rate. And so that gets us a value of about 1.33% for the debt. The common stock is going to be the bulk of the cost of capital because it's the bulk of the capital structure. Most of the market value is common stock. So the cost of the common stock is going to have sort of the greatest impact on the overall calculation. So if I take 639 divided by 897, that gives us a weight of 0.7124. If I multiply that by 14.6, that's going to give us the weighted cost of 10.4%. Then our last piece of the puzzle here is the preferred stock. Because it's the smallest, it's going to have the smallest impact. 32.4 million of that $897 million total gives us a weight of 0.0361, so only about 3.6% of the capital structure is preferred stock. If I multiply that by its cost of 6.79, this is going to be, if I round this to 2 decimal places, about 0.25. All right, so make a little bit more room up here just to finish off the calculation. The debt piece comes to 1.33%. The common stock piece comes to 10.40, and the preferred stock comes to 0.25. If we add all those items together, what we end up with is a total right about 11.98%. And so that's our weighted average cost of capital for this company. We had to start by calculating the market values, as we did here in these 3 places, figure out what the total market value was, as we did here. That gave us our weights for each one of these items. We computed the cost by calculating the yield to maturity on the bonds. That gave us the cost of debt. We used the CAPM to calculate the cost of the common stock. And then we used our standard perpetuity equation to figure out the cost of the preferred stock. And then pieced it together in our weighted average equation, and we get an ending value of 11.98% as the weighted average cost of capital for Wharton Electronics.